All right, Misha, thanks for talking to us today. I think it's great that we have you here talking about Media Composer 5. For one thing, you wear a lot of different hats in the industry. Not only are you a filmmaker, as well as an editor, but you're also an instructor focusing on Final Cut Pro. So I think it really gives you a great perspective on the big things that are happening in Media Composer 5, as well as the trends that are happening in the business right now in itself. So just from your experience using Media Composer 5 as a beta customer, what are your key takeaways from what you've seen so far?
Well, the key takeaway for us was AMA, by far. Just the ability to edit on the set while we're still in production.
You know, with your background in Final Cut, I know one of the things a lot of people are talking about with Media Composer 5 are these direct manipulation tools and the way they're supposed to sort of open up the editing model to be more accessible to people that have a background in Final Cut or Premiere. Did you find that these tools make it easier for you to work inside the timeline?
Yeah, well, I was just talking about this earlier today. There's a sort of a fast way to do things, and then there's a exact or specific way. So drag and drop is the fastest way, but it's not exact. You don't know, you really need to make an in point and out point and do an insert and overwrite. And that it's not that the other tools didn't exist in Avid before, but they weren't very clearly visible. So it was a little harder. You had to go digging for them a little bit to know that they even existed at all. So I find that having the Smart tool around and just right there in big, bold, sort of visible look makes it a lot easier to turn on and move the clips around.
So I know your introduction to Media Composer 5 was on a project that you just started and have been marketing, this sort of a web TV series that you're doing. Like a lot of people, for you, the whole world is file-based. Right? We're sitting in a room surrounded by these Canon 5Ds. What did you shoot with on this project?
Well, we shot the XDCam HD, the Sony f800, and the Canon 7D. And they're two totally different cameras with totally different frame rates, with, two totally different codecs, different wrappers. One wraps in QuickTime, one in MXF, and just about everything you could possibly imagine was different about them.
What was your workflow with AMA and these two different cameras, very different cameras?
Well, what was nice about it is typically when I get stuff in post, I have to just sort of accept whatever it is that they shot, and it's a pain in the butt to reformat them or consolidate or transcode them into one common format. But it was nice to, on the production end, pick a camera based on just what I needed for the production, for the artistic side of things. For example, the 7D we put in a whole lot of places that there's no way you're getting that f800 in there. You know, we shot a whole, probably about a third of the show takes place in a bathroom. You know, good luck fitting an f800 in a stall. You know, but the 7D, especially with a nice wide lens, no problem.
Going into Media Composer 5, at least in terms of AMA, you could already do the XDCam stuff, P2, GFCam. Now with Media Composer 5, that really, the really big part of it is the QuickTime aspect of it. You, like a lot of people, work in this this dual world of Final Cut and Media Composer. How is that going to change things for you in terms of moving material from Final Cut to Media Composer? Because of course with AMA, you can use ProRes, just like the H.264 stuff you used with the Canon.
I almost never get anything shot on tapes anymore. It's just non-existent, and I almost never have to lay off the tape anymore. It's kind of going out of style, I guess, or it's just an expensive part of the process that's easily avoidable. And most of the stuff I work on is all indie, so any place you can sort of avoid needing to go to a post house to fix your dailies or do anything like that, we really want to do. So that being said, now that we can use AMA to capture things like QuickTime, or rather to link to things like QuickTime, it's really convenient to use third-party cards or hardware that can capture straight to ProRes. So like take, for example, an HDV tape. We can take the Aja IO HD box, which will convert straight to ProRes on the fly, then link to those files. So now it's very easy for you to take QuickTimes and cut your film on Media Composer, and then use those same QuickTimes to cut your trailer in Final Cut. If there's anything that takes a chainsaw to the cost of something, it's the indie world. They don't have any money for anything, and they don't necessarily know that they need something until they get to that point. And one of the hardest sells I ever have for anybody is you need to spend $5,000 or $10,000 for 5 days of work and color correction. Why the hell would I need to do that? You know, $5,000 or $10,000 was what I spent on all my hard drives and all my media capture and the DIT on the set. And why do I need that? Well, you need a color calibrated monitor that can play HD. And now, if you use something like the Matrox MXO Mini, you can use a regular TV and color calibrate it using the calibration tools in there.
Right.
Now, it's still gonna be different than having a $10,000 broadcast HD monitor, but it's at least you're gonna be close, and your project is gonna look nice, and you're gonna save a lot of money.
In Media Composer 5.0, there's this new tool set called the Smart Tool, and there's
Right.
new direct manipulation tools. How is that going to change things for people that are coming into Media Composer for the first time,
Sure.
where they might have had a background in Final Cut or Premiere or something like that?
Sure. Well, I think that you see two approaches to editing, or I see two approaches to editing. One is a very meticulous, we look through our bins, we scout our footage, we watch in the source monitor, we make our marks, in point and out point, and we start to cut a rough cut right away. But another approach is sort of, if we equate it to play on a pottery wheel, you just kind of sort of throw something down, and am I making a cup or a bowl? I don't know, I'm just gonna start making it and see what comes out of it. If you're using the Smart Tool, I feel like you have a whole lot more control over it. I'm just gonna throw stuff down and start manipulating and see what we're gonna make. It's like you feel it more in your hands.
And one of the concerns in changing the Media Composer timeline is it is so revered for
Yeah.
the tool set that it offers that there's a lot of Media Composer editors out there that have this muscle memory built in, that know where these things are. And we were talking earlier, you mentioned the trim tool as being a real key component of Media Composer. What is it about the trim tools, or what is it you hear from other editors about the trim tools that are so important?
Sure. Well, no one has ever complained about the trim tools in Media Composer that I know of. That's always been a strength, and it remains a strength. It's very organic. It flows naturally, JKNL, and pause it, and having the two monitors pop up, and how you can do everything on the fly. It's great. But it's also going to be nice that you can turn off the Smart Tool, retain those same capabilities, or turn on the Smart Tool and have this.
So you're really not having to make any trade-offs. If you're an existing
No.
Media Composer editor, this is just an augmentation of the way you work. And if you're new to Media Composer, it should make it a lot easier for you to get into that editing model.
Sometimes when you know what you want to cut, you're marking an in point and an out point and doing your traditional insert and splice and overwrite edits. But sometimes you don't know what you want to do exactly, and you just sort of throw things onto the timeline and start trimming them. Now, in the old days in film, they used to make what's called a chem roll, right, and work from that. But this is a modern, adapted way of doing that, which is, we make that chem roll, but we're editing the chem roll. We're working right off of it, and for that reason, you need a quick access to segment mode. So the Smart Tool makes that simpler.
There's a perception that Media Composer isn't the most open system out there. Based on what you've seen in Media Composer 5, is that true?
Media Composer has definitely made large strides towards working well with others. Mostly this ProRes thing is just, that's hands down a message that we're working well with others. Another thing that is not so much the software, but the Avid website, the Avid community website, which now has a lot of professionals who discuss through that forum.
A lot of changes to the audio tools and how you work with audio in Media Composer. Do you find this is really going to help you in working with your sound department? So even though you can do a lot of finished quality audio work in Media Composer, you often turn things over to someone else using Pro Tools. Is that going to help you out?
Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure that the plugins are all from Pro Tools, so that stuff should all translate. They'll have exactly the choices that I make. And really what you want to do is give the sound department the best or closest approximation to what it is artistically you had in mind, so that way they have a frame of reference to work from while they're doing their thing, and while they're really spending time on the sound design. I do find it useful to have that be a choice.
Now, in your project here, we use this in NAB, and we showcased a feature called ScriptSync. Any
Yes.
familiarity with ScriptSync and how that works?
Yeah, ScriptSync is a massive help. It's huge to have a line script inside of your project that you can click any one line and find it so simply. Just find it instantly without having to have 27 bins open. You can just have one screen. That's ScriptSync. And when I'm editing anyway, I've got the script open and I've got the footage open. Why not just have them be one thing? And that's been around in Media Composer forever.
Working in Media Composer, you find that it's more solid than other systems you've worked on?
I think that if you're talking about media management and we're using having Avid track your media, it's pretty rock solid. If you're using the OMFI or Avid Media Files folder, how you have databases there that will refresh themselves, or that you can refresh, but that are constantly checking all of your hard drives for all of your media. It's really nice to have Avid track all of your media and not have to worry about it.